Happy Monday. Welcome. Actually, happy April. It's our first April show, but happy Monday as well. I am at Julie Ramjeet. I am missing my co-host at Swiss Army Sean, but he is on the way. He's just running a few minutes behind. I have two wonderful guests tonight that I am so happy to present to you guys. I have the president of Jockeys and Jeans Foundation, Barry Pearl, and I have PDJF Permanently Disabled Jockeys Foundation representative Roger Blanco. So welcome, guys, and thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Well, thank you for having us.
So we're going to get right into it, and I'm going to go one by one, so we're not all talking over each other. But Roger, give us an intro to PDJF, those who are not, privy with the industry. Tell us what it is, what it stands for, and the mission you all.
The PDJF stands for Permanently Disabled Jockey Funds. It's an organization that raises money for the disabled riders that have ended up in a wheelchair or permanent disabled. It's not just for an injury rider that can go back to work. It has to be permanently disabled. We do fundraisers all over the country. The organization is great. 100% of the money goes to the jockeys. The only money spent is the money used to make hats, T-shirts, expensives. But other than that, every disabled rider gets a check every month. It goes up a little bit every month. Depend how much money we can raise doing the fundraisers. My co-host Barry, he's the president of the Jockeys and Jeans, which is an extension of the Permanently Disabled Jockey Funds. He's been doing great. Every penny that he collects goes to the disabled riders, goes to the Permanently Disabled Jockey Funds. They're not separate. We're together, even though they're two different names, but we're together. The money goes to the same place and to the much needed riders that no longer can ride, like me.
Love that. Right. So Barry, and we'll get into that. We'll get into your story, Roger. Barry, tell us a little bit about Jockeys and Jeans and the decision to merge with PDJF.
Well, first of all, Jockeys and Jeans and the PDJF are two separate organizations. We're a fundraiser. When we first started this, my oldest son is a CPA, and he's also a professor at Seton Hall. He teaches accounting. So I went to him. I said, dude, we got these folks, and we want to start this charity, and I know a 503c would be the way to go. And he said, Pop, you don't want the paperwork. So we hooked up with the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund. That's the only one we raise funds for. And we decided, myself, Eddie Donnelly, at that time, Mike Manganello, Daryl Brown, we decided to raise money for the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund. In 8 years, we've raised almost $2.6 million.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible.
It's a lot of money. And nobody in our organization, nobody comes on with the thought of, I'm going to make money. This is 100% all money goes to the PDJF for guys like Raj and the other 42 paraplegics who, as I say, are now riding wheelchairs instead of horses. We have a pretty good little organization. And Roger is part of it. Roger is one of our, what we call our fallen rider coordinators, him and Jamie LaRocca. And they do a bang-up job, just super job, taking care of the Hall of Famers, making sure they contact everybody, getting them all there so we can have a spectacular event.
Now, Roger, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about how you got into the horse racing industry and how you landed with PDJF and, working where you are now. Tell us your story.
Well, I left Cuba back in 1984. I was working in a hospital, actually, out of all places.
Wow.
I met an old gentleman over there, and he looked at me. I was fighting, actually, with the buffing machine, buffing the floor. And he goes, hey, for a guy your size, you're pretty strong. So he talked to me about horses, and I used to ride horses in Cuba, heads up and up in the country under the woods. And I was always crazy about horses. So he told me about he used to ride back in the days, and he introduced me to horses called the race course. And the next day I was over there actually at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
I start working how work for Harry Benson, and Octavio Vergara kind of took me under his wing and insisted that Harry give me a shot in one of his horses. I start galloping. About 6 months later, I was actually on my first race.
Wow.
Gulfstream Park. I won my first race at Gulfstream Park, and I stayed down here for a while. I went up to Mammoth Park. I like it. I went up there the second time, and in the third year, that's when I had my accident. But the horse kind of take a bad step, and we went down. My fault. I should have scratched the horse, but I didn't. When you ride the first time for a name trainer, a big trainer like Howard Tesher, you don't want to scratch your first horse.
Sure.
I took my chances, and it didn't end up well. Depend how you look at it. Some people say, wow, that was a bad. I say, yeah, I could have been dead, so it's not that bad.
Wow. I'm saying wow because for you to tell your story like that, so many people would not be able to say that with a smile on your face. And I want to note that any true rider or horseman, if they fall off, they get bucked off, they have a permanent injury, we always say it's our fault. It's not the horse's fault. So that's something that I definitely want to key in there. Why is that, do you think, Roger? Why do we always blame ourselves?
Well, because when you love something, it's not your fault. Jockeys and horses like a bad marriage. When somebody's cheating on the other one, but it's always well, it was my fault. I was not good. I was not doing this. So it's kind of the same thing, you love the horses, send you blood, you love what you do, and you don't want to blame the horses. He didn't ask you to get on his back.
You're right.
Wow. So why should you blame the horses? And I'm a firm believer that when you love something, you always find a way to find excuses to be around it.
You're right.
And you do. And the reason why I'm not angry about my accident actually goes back to my first days at the hospital. I was in a room with 4 other guys, and one of them had gangrene on his legs, and they have to cut him from the waist down. And another kid was only 18 years old. His birthday present was a Mustang GT. And he ended up, first night out, ended up getting into an accident, paralyzed from the neck down.
Oh my gosh.
That kid did not deserve that. I know what I got into it. I know what it could have happened. Like I say in my first interview, I said, hey, look, I'm not rich. In this sport, you can get rich and be famous. I'm not rich, but I'm famous because all the news are here. Oh, that's how I look.
He is famous,
Well, I don't love that happened to you, but you're pretty incredible to sit here and share your story and still be able to look at it in a positive light. So we had to have the accident. Take us from there and how that led you to PDJF.
Well, actually, I started swimming. I started going to the pool, and one of the lifeguards over there, she keep asking me to take her to the track. I did not know about the PDJF, and I was in a wheelchair already for a good 13 years without knowing about it because I was doing okay. So I went to the track. I took her to the track that Saturday, and I ended up seeing a jockey that she rode with me back when I was riding. And she mentioned if the permanent disabled jockey fund was helping me, and I didn't know anything about it. And I thought, so the next day I got a call from Jose Santos, and he's a part of them. He called me and he said, how can you not get help? I said, well, I didn't know. And they put me in contact with Nancy La Sala, which is great. She's the president of Jockeys, permanent disabled jockey funds. And it was a little bit of a back and forth in the beginning because all my records got lost during Hurricane Andrew. And I got no proof of my accident. All I had was witnesses and the tape, the videotape. But, so I contact her. She contacted people. And 2 months later, I was, receiving a check that actually, when I got divorced, my wife, which was the bread maker in the family because, she was the director of publicity at Calder. And practically, I would have to give up my house.
Oh, bless your heart.
To give up my house, and ironically, the house was already on the foreclosure, and I had 3 weeks left to get out, where because my income was not enough to modify the house,
Right.
or to refinance. And 3 weeks before I had to get out, I received the first check, and I give it to the lawyer, and that's what saved my house.
Wow.
You know, so a little bit of pride in there. I know if I would have gone to my ex-wife, she never would have let it go. No doubt about it. We still good friends and good relationships. Actually, I just went to dinner with her a couple of weeks ago. I go to for Thanksgiving. I go to her house and her husband's new house with my kid, her kids.
Wonderful. Very nice.
No, so it's not like we were on bad terms. I just, sometimes you have pride that you don't want to go some places,
I think that's a jockey thing. The pride never dies. I tell you that. I want to welcome my co-host Sean here. He jumped in intermittently a little late, but he's here. Welcome, Sean. This is Roger.
Hi, Sean.
Hey guys, I appreciate both of what you guys are doing for Jockeys, and I'm excited about the show and find out more. Roger, how did you had a fundraiser Friday, or was it Saturday at Turfway?
Saturday they did have a Jockeys autograph over there, and they had a big crowd over there. They did pretty good. People were happy. I got some videos from Nancy, and they did wonderful. I mean, the support, the fans, they're amazing. They're amazing. I was up in Saratoga last year, and they got all, the colony that goes to Saratoga is impressive.
Yeah, top tier.
And everybody, every what do you call, every fan over there asked me for my autograph, and I keep telling them, I don't know why you want my autograph, and there I'm nobody, man. I'm just here for support.
Well, you are somebody, and you're an inspiration to so many, and even people that are not in wheelchairs. I mean, my husband, when you reached out to me through David Fox, he immediately knew who you were. So they know you, and you're a true inspiration. Barry, I want to bring you in, and let's get to you. Let's talk about you and your story. What is the correlation with you in horse racing, and how did you become interested in helping?
Well, very simply, I'll give you a brief description of how I started in racing. I'm originally from New York. My parents lived there. They moved to Florida in 1959 to Hialeah. Just happened that they lived maybe 4 or 5 blocks from Hialeah Racecourse. And when I was about 15 and a half, I used to walk to school every day and walk by the stable gate. And one morning I'm walking, it's about 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm walking to school, and this little guy in a white Cadillac convertible with a blonde sitting next to him pulls up to the stable gate. And I looked and I said, you know what? Whatever that guy is doing, I want to do that. And that's how I got started. And that's true. And so the next weekend, I snuck into Hialeah, and I went to the backside, and I met a bunch of people. I was walking hots. I shouldn't have been there. But that was my very first start. After that, I had a very, very good and successful career. I rode in Jersey, in Florida. I rode in Maryland. I rode in Pennsylvania. I rode all mostly on the East Coast. Sometime I'd go to Kentucky, or I'd go out to Chicago. I was very successful in it. But I'm the kind of guy who looks at things in a realistic terms. And we had 2 children, my wife and I. My wife of 55 years, by the way.
Wow, congratulations.
And, yeah, Raj met my wife. And so we were, I didn't like the fact that I had to move all the time. Back in those days, we were nomads. Mm-hmm. We went from Garden State to Monmouth Park to Atlantic City, back to Garden State, and back to Florida, or wherever you went. Sure. That didn't really set well with me because of the kids. So I had an opportunity. I was a photographer. I was doing photography. And I had an opportunity when Penn National opened to take the photography concession at Penn National. So I sat down, and I'll never forget, I was riding for, I don't know if anybody remember George Handy and Donnie Combs. Don Combs won the Derby with Dust Commander.
Yes, yes,
And I was
yes.
riding first call for those two guys. And I said, we got to go to dinner. So we go to dinner in Cherry Hill, and myself and Don and George and my wife. And I told them what I was doing. I said, I'm going to quit January 1st. And they both turned to my wife and said, D, you got to talk about it. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. He can't do that. But I did. It worked out. It worked out well. I owned a photography studio along with the racetrack and real estate holding company. I've been very successful. I'm very fortunate. I was out of racing for quite a while, and in I think it was 14. I got a call from Eddie Donnelly, who's on our team, and he said, we're having a get together at Tampa Bay Downs. We'd like you to come. So it was myself, Mike Maganello, who won the Derby, Darrell Brown, Eddie Donnelly, and also
Here. Hold on.
Pardon me?
Roger, can you hear us?
Can you hear?
Oh,
Can you hear me?
I hear you, Roger. Something's going on with Roger. Roger, click out and re-click the link. Okay, sign out and come back to us. Sorry, Barry. I saw him
It's
say
okay.
it. Couldn't hear.
That's showbiz. So, so what happened was we went. That was the first event we had at Tampa Bay Downs,
Mm-hmm.
and because I had a business background, the folks said, "Hey, why don't you take this over and see if we can make some money?" And from then on, we started. We went to a different place every year. So we've been to Tampa. We've been to Indiana Grand. We went to Gulfstream, Canterbury Park, Santa Anita. We've gone to Churchill, and this year the big one we'll be going to Las Vegas, the Caesar's Palace.
How can you forget that? You had to think about Vegas for a second. Come on.
I'm old. I'm old. That's how I can forget it.
So tell us a little bit about that event, Jockey and Jeans in itself, what you all do, and, obviously the goal is to fundraise money, but tell us about the show you guys put on for people that are coming.
Well, Jockeys and Jeans has been a very, very successful event. And when we planned it, when we laid it out, we said, okay, what's our key focus? And our key focus has always been our fallen riders and our Hall of Famers. And that kind of just goes together. So this year we'll probably have in Vegas 16 to 17 Hall of Famers there. And we'll have, I don't know, what is it, Raj? 9, 10, 11?
Actually, we have
riders
12 right now, but we're going to have to maybe cut back 2.
Okay, so we have 11 or 12.
That's 3 to add me. I just want to come.
And what we do is we highlight our fallen riders. That's really the issue, and our Hall of Famers. And we make people understand that this is a dangerous game we play. Our philosophy and our kind of our thought process is, when I'm a rider, we are the lucky ones. We walked away intact. We will never forget those who did not. And so that's what got me back into the game and got me into this, doing this. Guys like Roger, Jamie LaRocca, Armando Rivera, all those folks who've been with us for so long. It's what gets me up every day and say, I want to do this again.
Well, I love that. I do want to get to a comment here from Grandma Horse Racing. She said, coming from a life of service, it can be the best hard work you ever do. We totally agree.
True.
I think that, it's a very interesting dynamic to have you and Roger as both being ex-riders. Roger, who took a horrid spill and became permanently disabled, you coming back into it because you like you just said about walking away safe and doing it for the ones that didn't get to do that. And I mean, I know as a wife, as a rider, I hold my breath, and literally every Saturday the race week is over, I thank God that whether he won or not, we survived. We got through it safe. And I mean, I think that's people don't realize how dangerous it is and how, there's not a safety net to catch these guys when they fall. So it's really very important for these organizations and these fundraisers that you guys are a part of to be relevant and, to get the attention that you all need. Because let me tell you, I don't personally feel like PDJF or Jockey and Jeans is heard about enough, talked about enough. Me personally, I'm active in the racing. It took me doing research to find out about Jockeys and Jeans, so I'm grateful that we're able to put you guys out here and educate the people who don't know what is available for the riders that need help. And I think Roger, you and you as well, Barry, can kind of touch on the reality for some of these guys. You were lucky to stop your career, Barry, take a turn, start your photography business. A lot of these guys, when they are done riding, or whether they choose to end it or it's ended by injury, they don't have such a cushion behind them or another option. So talk about that a little bit. I'll answer, both of you. Barry, you can go ahead and touch on it about the reality of what happens to these riders when they are done riding.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest, I think, disappointments in racing. And listen, racing from when I started in 1964 is completely different today. I like to look back, and when I started riding, it was the glory days, the pure days of racing. People did it because this was the thing to do. You were a jockey because you loved it, you want to do it. And not saying that these kids these days don't have the same attitude. Personally, I believe that racing itself, tracks, horsemen, owners, jockeys are looked at, and people may not like this, as a commodity.
Very much so.
Barry Pearl gets hurt, there's some 10 more back of him wants to take his place. Right, Raj?
Very much.
That just happens to be the way it is. That's the game we play. So what I say to racetracks, and I've got a pretty good relationship with about 95% of them, is, hey, guys, this is not only good for us that you're helping us, that you're giving us X amount of dollars. It's good for you because people then feel that you care. And we have some serious folks who donate money. I'm going to give you one little story, and I think this is a crowd pleaser. Very good friend of mine and Rogers is a fellow named Brian Elmore. Brian Elmore is the president of the Indiana HPPA. He was also at one time the president of Indiana Grant.
Okay.
Ellis Park. He's a very knowledgeable, smart, and sharp guy. Brian is a believer. He's also one of our, what we call our, Roger, I lost the word. He is one of our top guys. And
that's the best way to put it.
Like a spokesperson,
exactly.
person for you all?
Pardon me?
Is he a spokesperson for you all?
Yeah, he is. I got to turn around and look. He's an ambassador.
Okay.
He's a Jockeys and Jeans ambassador, along with guys like Ronnie Turcotte, Lafitte Pinkai, Pat Day. He's got quite a list. So the Indiana HPVA is this big. Not like New York, which is this big. Okay. You know what they gave us this year for a sponsorship? You ready?
Ready.
$25,000.
Wow.
So how does the Indiana HPBA, which is small, in rural Indiana, do that?
Right.
They do it because they think it's the right thing to do.
Important, because it's important. I love that. And
they understand. So when I go to racetracks and I say, hey guys, we need your help, and if you're not giving what you should be giving based on your size, that's embarrassing. But fortunately, at Caesars, who is another huge sponsor of ours, Caesars Palace, Caesars Entertainment, they've given us $50,000 over the last 2 years.
Wow.
And we're holding it there because of their care for us, our fallen riders, and they want to do the right thing. So this event in Las Vegas will be a game changer. It's a big deal, and I think we'll do $500,000 at the Caesar's Palace.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
You know, talking about what Barry said about jockeys being a commodity, I was a golf caught there one time, and a horse got in an accident. The jockey fell down, and one of the guys over there that he was always there. I know who he was. I talked to him before and everything. They had to stop the race for a little bit while they got the jockey out and everything. And the guy just, I don't know where it goes. What's the big deal? Jockey's a dime a dozen. That's what he says. So I was already in a wheelchair. I'm right in front of him. So I turned around. I did a little bit of pop wheelie, and I ended up my front wheel right on top of his toe. Right on top of his toe.
Good for you.
He goes, buddy, watch out, my toe. I said, what's the big deal?
Just a toe. Yeah.
I said, you have 10 more. He goes, what the heck is that about? Not in those words, but a little bit more than that. He goes, what is that about? I said, because what you say. What do you mean jockeys a dime a dozen? They're human beings. You making money because you're betting on them. What do you mean the dime a dozen? You do not talk about anybody who just got involved into an accident that way, man. Look at me. I ended up in this chair putting a show for you. And
exactly. And let's elaborate on that. It's pure entertainment for everyone watching. You know, I mean, it's not. Sadly, you guys didn't have to deal with social media when you were riding. But you know, these guys now, I see comments like that often, Roger, where angry bettors or uneducated fans are just ripping some of these guys to shreds. I mean, I'm a wife. I'm not a jockey. I personally have received nasty messages about my husband, and it's one thing. My dog is trying to knock my background down. Sorry,
There you go.
It comes down to one thing, and it's that, like you said, a lot of these people don't look at the riders as humans. They look at you all as money. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say it. The horses are treated the same. I think jockeys and horses are very much for what are they doing for us today? You know, because the next one can come back and do something better tomorrow. And that's wrong. I feel like we have to love our riders more and a sense of community at each racetrack and our horses. I think it goes hand in hand. I mean, you guys are the two things that make it possible. I think coming now into 2023, I love racing, but I'm very just honest. I feel it's very, much more money driven than it ever was. And we have to have people like you guys out there to remember what really matters. I mean, and that's lives. That's whether it be the humans or the animals, and helping people. You know, I would love to see personally an easier decline coming out of a jockey's career. I mean, some of these guys have hit rock bottom because they can't ride anymore.
It should be, but you know, I was a jockey agent for a while, and normally I got kids from you know, Chile, Peru, Panama, Puerto Rico, and I always try to teach them the value of $1. And I can tell them, I couldn't emphasize enough to say this. Look, just because you're riding the 1 to 9 shot in the next race doesn't entitle you to go and buy yourself $1,000 watch, because that's not how it works. That 1 to 9 is not going to be there all the time. You have to save money. And I always try to say, the first thing I used to do to all the riders that I took, mainly bug riders, was let's go to the bank and open 2 bank accounts. You check account and you saving account. You do not touch the save account, because when something goes wrong, and we all go wrong, this is not, sure. You know, we all know, this is not a matter of if it happens, it will happen.
It's when.
You will get into an accident.
Mm-hmm.
And I always teach them, save some money, because when Barry and I were riding, money is not what it is today.
Sure.
And this kid, a lot of this kid, the mentality is, oh, it will always be a next week.
Yeah.
Or another winner. It doesn't work that way. Next week maybe never comes. And a lot of these people, especially agents don't.
I was going to ask, how was that for you working as an agent? Because I mean, I did it for 8 years as well. And the sad reality, you know, they call us ambulance chasers. When a rider goes down, we're on it trying to get our riders on. So how was that for you? Because you've been now on the other side of that fence.
That was for me the best time of my life and the worst time of my life. I lost weight. I couldn't sleep. Every time I have to ride a horse that you know you should not be riding, but your rider wants to ride, you lost sleep. And I have an example. Or I had Horacio Caramanos for a couple of months, helping him out while he was looking for another agent. And he never rode for Eddie Prisa. Eddie Prisa used to ride Jeremy Beasley.
That's who Andre worked for at Gulfstream, Eddie.
There you go. So Eddie, one day come to me and he says, look, that horse that my guy just rode and he didn't do a good job. I want you to ride him next time. I said, no, I'm not. Why not? He goes, because something is wrong with the horse. That's the reason why he pulled him up. That's the reason why the horse take the lead on top of the stretch and the kid stood up and never rode him. You think I'm going to ride one horse for you that it might injure my rider? I'm not going to do it. Horacio Caramano decided to ride. He said, no, I want to ride him. That's going to be my chance to get in there. I said, no, that's going to be the chance to end up in a hospital. Sure enough, he ended up in a hospital. Took him out for 2 months with the broken ribs.
And you know, Roger, that's really relevant at some of these smaller tracks. Some of these guys that literally ride for a jock's mount, or, you know, they're surviving paycheck to paycheck. I mean, let's be real. You're not getting the top tier horses at some of these cheaper tracks. And I see it happen nightly, where I'm looking at the screen and I can see it. And I know these boys can feel it, but it's like they're gotten themselves in a position where, in order to ride, everybody's afraid to speak up and say, hey, I don't feel safe, I don't feel comfortable, because they're worried that they'll be blackballed. Has that been going on since you guys were doing this?
It's always been work. It's called burn. Let them burn. That's what they call you. You burn yourself.
Yeah.
For example, my horse, the one that I got the accident on, I was not forced because nobody put a gun in my head, but you know, if I would have said to Howard Techer, which is probably, I think it was the leading trainer up there that year, you know, if I would have said to him, as a newcomer to Mammoth Park, with no business practically, if I would have said to him, on the first horse that he puts me on, I'm not riding this horse, that was that. I would have been out.
Yeah, you would have been done.
Looking back, do you think, would you said no now, looking back in hindsight, or would you have still done it?
I can't lie to you. I would have done the same thing. I never would have said no. I would have ride him because that was my career. That I left my family behind. I went up there, and I would have probably be a little more careful, but I would have ended up riding the horse. I never would have scratched the horse. Maybe break out of the gate and pull him up, but you know, before the accident happened. But I'm not gonna lie to you and say yes. Knowing what happened, I would have done something different. Maybe a few things, but never scratch the horse, because I want to get in that barn, and that's the price.
That's really sad. That's sad to hear that something so wrong has gone on the entirety of horse racing. It sounds like some of these people know when they're legging these riders up what they're sending out there. I'm not saying all of them, because freak things happen. I've seen completely sound animals have that, you know, freak things happen, accidents happen, racing happens, but it puts a lot of pressure on the rider.
It does.
It does.
But you know, there are a lot of honest trainers. There are a lot of honest trainers.
Yes, sir. Yes, there are. Yes.
You are really, really honest. So we cannot blame them. Which in the same position, you cannot blame them for run a horse that's a little bit sore here, a little bit sore there, because the athletes, they all get sore. They all have problems. You know, whether you're a boxer or you're a football player, it's the same thing. Every athlete has problems.
Yes.
But it's like I rode for a guy named Rafael Lozanos up in Meadowlands. I rode a horse 3 times and I win 3 times on him. The horse had a knee the size of a football. But before the race, 2 days before, I galloped the horse for 2 days, and it was up to me whether I want to scratch him or ride him. I rode him 3 times. I win 3 times. On the 4th time, I told him, I said, scratch the horse, don't ride him. It's gonna happen. Something is gonna happen. The next day, the horse was in the barn in the van to the farm. Never rode again.
Yeah, some people do the right thing, and some people absolutely listen to the horses. So, I mean, and there's good and bad on each side of any industry you're in. But I think the seriousness of the reality of the jockey's occupation and what can really happen when they hit the ground definitely needs to be better highlighted. We have, like you see, Grandma Horse Racing said right here, first I heard of it. Thanks again, HRT. So, this is just showing this is an organization that every racetrack should be. They should have a sign up. They should have a banner. They should be encouraging knowledge or fundraisers or help just to educate. It's not always about the dollar sign. It's about educating and educating the young people coming in so they know the realities of, hey, maybe they want to be a jockey, but maybe they want to do something else. Maybe they want to help jockeys. How can they do that? I think that's really important. Sean, what you got over there? I've been talking up a storm. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to expand on what Roger said. Gamblers complain a lot of times when a jockey's not trying on a horse, and that could be some of what's going on when they're not fighting all the way to the finishes. They might feel something wrong under the horse, correct?
Yes, 100%. Saturday, a friend of mine, ex-rider, called me and said, hey, this horse that is running the first race, Paco Lopez riding, that horse has a big chance. But I'm not going to say name. His wife doesn't let him gamble. So he asked me to open a TBG account for him. So I make the bets for him. He bet the horse. The horse finished 4th. And then I went to the track and I saw Paco. I said, man, you had nothing on top of the stretch with that horse, huh? Because she looks like a winner. He told me, goes, I have to give up on her because she was bleeding. She was bleeding, and that's something the jockey have to know. Because any other jockey doesn't have experience, he will ride the horse to the wire and he probably collapse from a heart attack.
Yeah.
Or something. So the jockeys, a lot of people think that when that gate opens is how you say,
the video game.
To jail. It doesn't work that way. You have to make sure your horse is broken the right lead. Make sure the horse is breathing correctly. Make sure the right time. Make sure not only the time of your horse, but the time of the horse in front of you, the lead horse. Where you can move, whether you can come from behind, whether somebody's following you to lock you up. I mean, whether the horse changes leads on top of the stretch or not. It's a million things happen in about a minute and 12 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, because you always get those people that complain that the jockey's going too fast to keep up with the horse. But if they let him go and he gets away, then you're an idiot because you didn't go after the horse. So you kind of can't win either way.
Listen, at the end of the day, we have a lot of keyboard jockeys. It's a sad reality because it's social media. We are in a world that is just social media driven. So, people see a horse go backward. And that's, the sad reality of a bleeder, for instance. The bettors don't see that. They don't see when the horse hits a wall at the top of the lane and instantly it's always the rider's fault, or is the horse in the proper race, proper condition? Instantly the rider's fault, and it's just.
On that though, and I'm sure you guys would agree too, horse racing needs to be more transparent with that and fill in the public on kind of what's going on.
We're in a game that is unforgiving. First of all, the fan, I don't blame the fan a lot for their attitudes on what they see. It's difficult. Racing and riding now is completely different than when I rode. When I rode, and this is a good example, and Roger can expand on this. When I rode, if you weren't down on your belly in an aerodynamic position, going down the backside, people would laugh at you.
Oh, I hate that.
And I see them now, and I see riders, they're all galloping the horse down the backside. And I went to one of the best riders in the country, in the world, Mike Smith. And I said, Mikey, what's with the thing with going down the backside like you galloping? He says, well, we feel that it relaxes them more. I said, does it?
Wow.
Really? I don't see where, maybe Roger could expand on that because Roger rode, though, during a time of standing up on a horse. But I always felt that, and everybody else that I rode with, George Velasquez, Jacinto Vasquez, Walter Blum, we all rode the same way, just like everybody rides the same way now, except that you rode in a more down the backside. Because remember, when they turn for the stretch or they're at the 3/8 pole, guess where they are? They're on their belly and they're riding.
Right.
So I don't really see. I watch races all the time, and I don't really see a big difference on how a guy's riding a horse who's third, and he's sitting there galloping, and he runs up and back of somebody, gets shuts off. I don't see that as somebody down on their belly riding them. So I think that's a big difference on how things are done, and people see that and they don't understand that. They don't understand. Well, how come this guy's not riding them?
Right.
And it's like the whip rule now. I rode with riders who use a stick and use it, and maybe they sometimes they used it too much. But I think now with the whip rules as they have it, the stick is useless. Truly.
Really?
Yeah, I think have you ever seen the popper that they use at the end?
Yeah, I actually had this is going to sound awful. I was going to say I had my husband smack me with it, but not like that. I had him crack me on the leg one time because I'm used to I started galloping out there when I was 16. I'm used to the old fashioned stick. So I said, let me see this popper. Because when I used it in my hand, I didn't feel anything. I said, smack me one time on my and honestly, it feels like a pool noodle. With
it's nothing. I mean, back in the day, we used to have and Roger rode with those. We had a popper on it, and of course, you couldn't. You don't abuse a horse, but there's a lot of things you do with a stick. You get them going. You control them.
Yeah.
Right, Raj? How about if you have a horse that comes to the 3/8 pole and all of a sudden wants to make a right turn?
Well, yeah.
No, you can throw that stick away and just jump. You might as well jump.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of times that I had their heads turned around facing me, and you had to nail them on the ear or something just to get them straightened up. So I think there's a middle ground in this that would be apropos for everybody. Go back to, I mean, I guess the popper works. Everybody seems to be using it now, but that's what they dictate. And six hits.
Yeah.
So if I'm riding like crazy and it's nose to nose, and I feel it needs one more than 6 and 7, and now I get disqualified and fined.
And that's just it's so much for these guys. You guys were talking about all the things the jockey thinks about during a race. Add to it, they can hit 6 times, but they can still hit underhand. They can't hit over. Like, there's all these little rules. So imagine that coming in a stretch stool, and you're trying to make sure, okay, I hit my horse 5 times, and they hit on the shoulder.
Most of these kids wouldn't have a clue about that. I'm sorry, they just stopped hitting them because they forget how many times did I hit them.
Right, or they overhit and take the fine. I've seen it happen many times. I mean, they want to win the race, so they'll take the fine. But I mean, I've seen it affect where the owners losing purses and everything from it. So.
Yeah. You imagine you have 3 or 4 horses, and you have a lazy horse who needs the whip to run, and the jockey hits him 7 times, and they take $10,000 away from you.
Brutal.
Jockey hit him 1 too many times.
I think it's ugly because I think that you can't tell a rider what they need to feel safe and in control on a 1,200-pound animal, especially unless you've done it, unless you've done that. Exactly. And I think that's the real problem. My personal opinion. Too many non-horsemen in positions of power.
And that's the point that riders always come last.
Yes.
Well, my thought process is very simple, folks. On June 24th at Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas, Jockeys and Jeans will be there for our 9th annual gala event. And this is a big, big event. Anybody who wants to come to this thing, we're inviting them to. Go to jockeysandjeans.com. We have on there our how to get tickets, how to get a hotel room. There's discounted pricing for tickets and for hotels. And this is going to be a gala event. This is going to be a big, big deal. As a matter of fact, when I met with Caesars and I met with their VP of catering, we sat down and he asked me, how do you normally do this? I said, well, we're at a racetrack and it's normally during the day and we have a nice brunch. I mean, a buffet. It's very nice. And, people get up and they go. And he looked at me and says, Barry, says, don't you understand where we are? We're in Vegas. We're not going to have
baby.
a brunch. We're going to have a dinner. I said, okay, I'm with you.
People
So,
don't
but
wake
we're
up that early for brunch in Vegas.
Yeah, we don't do that. So they'll have a cocktail hour before for our guests, and then they'll have a sit down dinner, and we'll have quite a show, and we'll have all our fallen riders. And Raj, maybe you could mention some of the fallen riders will be coming.
Well, we're gonna have Armando Rivera is coming. We have Gary Donahue is coming. We have Michael Martinez, Michael Strait. I think Cindy Underwood's coming. Jamie La Roca, myself. We have a couple of from Oscar is coming. We have let me see who else. Oh my God, we have a huge list. But we have about 12 of them. Hard to come up with all the names, but I think it's going to be a great event. I think we're going to have a great time.
Super excited.
Yes, we're going to have a good time. We have Sandy Hall is coming. I think Lafitte Pinkai is coming. Pat Day. We have some from the quarter horses too. JR is coming. We expect a lot of nice people over there, a lot of Hall of Fames, and we can't say enough to of them. They're always willing. They're always
exactly
forward. They never say no. For one of them to say no is hard. It's hard for one of them to say no. They've been great. They come to all the events and they support us big time.
And that's exactly right, Raj. Our Hall of Famers, the one thing that we don't do is we don't pay anybody to come. This is
that's what we do. We don't get paid for this. We're just doing it for the love and educating.
Exactly. We do it because, and they do it. They come. All these Hall of Famers come because it's the right thing to do.
Love
and
that.
They come to support their brothers and sisters who are, as I say, are no longer riding horses, they're riding wheelchairs. And I use those when I go out and talk to a sponsor. I have some lines that I use that people go, oh my God, are you crazy? Things like, stand up for those who cannot no longer stand for themselves.
Listen, it's the reality. I love it. I'm a no filter kind of gal.
It's part of the deal.
Yeah.
It's part of the deal, and people understand it. So we got a wonderful crew. We got as Roger and Jamie LaRocca, who are our fallen rider coordinators. Sandy Hawley and his wife Carew, they are Hall of Fame coordinators. Marie and Daryl Brown are transportation coordinators because it takes a lot of coordination just to get everybody there.
Sure.
And Eddie Donnelly's a vice president, and he's head of media. We have a number of people: Kenny Katz, Harvey Kaser, Susie Pacu. I'm thinking of all who are involved in our auctions. You can't believe what we have to auction.
The level of philanthropy just through everyone is just incredible. I love it.
Yeah.
Love to hear that. And I am on board to help in any way that I can. I'm sure anybody with HRT can back me on that well as the entity. But me just as my sole self, anything I can do, whether it be at my local track or for you guys, please reach out and let me know because I fully support what you guys are doing. And it
just
does
spread the word, Julie. I mean, that's the key. Just talk positively about what we're doing. And when you're on your show, as you go down the road, say, hey, you folks know that next week they're going to be Jockeys and Jeans at Caesars or wherever we're going to be. It helps. And we try to make it so that the racing industry and the fan understands what we're doing. Right. And understands why we're doing it. I don't do it because it's my ego, because it makes me, that much better. I do it because I feel it's the right thing to do. I'm an old guy, and I do it because when I rode, as I said, I walked away in one piece. And I appreciate guys like Roger and Jamie and Armando. And when I see them, and we have this ceremony where we bring everybody up, we call them up to the front of the room, and then we call up all the Hall of Famers. They stand in back. They're in a dry eye in a damn place.
I know. I have goosebumps. I have like
It's amazing,
and I have goosebumps.
It's good to mention that a lot of the jockeys, the ones that are riding right now,
Right.
they're being amazing.
Yes.
The support is being great. I Rattle T, unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's there for us.
I read. Yeah, he's wonderful.
Tyler Gaffalion, Johnny Velasquez, Mike Smith.
I was gonna say Johnny. I always see Johnny.
Yeah. We have all of them. The California crew, unbelievable. Mike and Florence Rose, always there. They're all been there for us. Like I was not expecting it, because they're moving a lot. They're moving everywhere. They have a lot on their mind. And
but you know what? It matters. Every rider should be backing this and supporting it. I don't care if you're Irad Ortiz and you're leading rider in the country, or if you're just a little guy at, I don't know, anywhere. It's important. It doesn't matter. They can go down at the biggest track or the smallest. And I feel like the support and supporting just the ones who already have, while they get to continue doing what they love, is it's important. It's very important. It matters. I don't want to keep you guys too long, but I want you guys to answer this question. Grandma Horse Race, I'll let you take it, Barry. How can we get involved with the calls?
Come to jockeysandsjeans.com. And on that webpage, there's a number of places you can go, and you can donate to the PDJF. You can get a sponsorship. You can come to the event. It's all on the website, and it gives you a lot of information about what we're doing, about who are our Hall of Famers, who are our ambassadors, and so that would, to me, would be the place to go for any information you need.
Okay,
and
great.
I'll share this information on socials as well.
Thanks.
Zalima, who helps you out, Zalima Deweese, also sent me the all the information about the Vegas show, and sometimes she sends me the other stuff too, so I can share it. She's great. And then I'll also mention about the Vegas. It's honoring Mattress Mac as well.
Well, that's a big deal. I'm going to tell you. Mac has been a big supporter of ours, whether it's in the stallion season realm or on the day. Mattress Mac, we have a Person of the Year award every year for someone who has done something significant for or in racing. And this year it's Mattress Mac.
Cool.
He has been a pretty big driving force in the care and health of horses. He's a no medication guy, and he's pretty amazing. And he's a huge player. So we're having him come to Vegas. He's going to come, and we're going to present him with our coveted Person of the Year. And we've had Randy Sampson, president of Canterbury Park. We've had Brian Elmore from the Indiana. We've had Bob Bafford as one. And who else, right? We have had someone else. We just started this 3-4 years ago. And this year will be Mattress Mac. So it's a pretty big deal, and it's going to be neat with him. I don't know what Mattress Mac's going to do. He might walk in with a check this big. Who knows?
We have a comment also for Roger here. Willie Martinez says, I love Roger, my man.
Willie's my boy. Willie's my boy.
You guys, it's almost been an hour. I don't want to hold you any longer. It's been wonderful picking your brains. I could sit with you all evening and just keep asking questions. Hopefully I'll get the opportunity to meet you both face to face in Vegas. I'm going to try to do my due diligence to be able to be there and be a part of it.
That'd be cool.
Anybody who is looking for information or ways to support, like Barry said, you can go to the Jockey and Jeans website. You can just you can literally type in Jockeys and Jeans on Google, and it's the first thing that's going to come up. Or you can do you can find them through the PDJF website as well. My husband chimed in. He says, love these guys. We love you too.
We
Although I
love you
think
too,
you were
Mama.
over here smacking me with the whip. I promise it wasn't bad.
Well, thank you so much, folks, for having us, Roger, my good friend Roger, myself on. It means a lot. We are always trying to get the word out and make sure people understand that, again, we do this because it's the right thing to do.
Love that.
And
Thank you, Julie. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you, Roger, and I'm glad you reached out to me. When you did, and I appreciate you being patient. As you know, it took us a little bit to get to the schedule. We talked a few months ago, but Barry, I already thanked earlier before we went live. If you haven't read my article I wrote for Jockeys and Jeans about jockeys, go to his website and check it out. He was kind enough to post it up there a few months ago, and it's a good read. So
Pretty cool.
yeah,
Very nice.
We'll wrap up with you guys there. We will hopefully maybe reconvene, get you guys on after the big event in Vegas, and you can kind of tell us about, what was accomplished there and what went on. We'd love that. And we'll keep an eye on you guys, supporting you guys, and we'll definitely talk to you all in the future.
Thank you so much, folks.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great night.
You too.
You too. Oh, she kicked herself out.
Oh, I kicked myself out. Just kidding. Okay, well, that was incredible. Totally, excuse me, different aspect of the racing shows that we get to bring you guys. I love that we're getting to bring you guys a lot of fun things. Had an announcer on last week. We had, the PDJF and Jockeys and Jeans this week. So I love to bring in the different elements. It's not all just jockeys and trainers. There's so many more awesome people involved in this sport. So we'll continue to keep trying to bring you guys, the good people we can find. Sean, tell them what we have coming up this week.
So you mentioned that, and we have different things coming up this week. So tomorrow we have a younger trainer, Cody Beatty, Northeast. He's always success. I think he's got like a winning percentage of like 20%. It's crazy. And then Wednesday we have a former jockey. He wrote an autobiography. He's a motivational speaker, Arico De Silva. So a little bit of everything this week. So
yeah,
we definitely mixed it up. Yeah,
very cool. We started it off great. It's a privilege to get to talk to some of these people that we get to talk to. So I'm super grateful. What's going on tomorrow? Is it Rich and Terry or Rich and?
I believe it will be Rich and Terry, and it will be it's Tuesday, so it'll be Parks Day number 2. They'll do the Parks card again.
Yeah, get on there and watch the show during the day if you guys are looking for any hot picks or help with making some money on the ponies. Those are your guys. Those are the show to watch.
Yeah.
I tune in sometimes and tell them to drop me a hot tip for the day.
Charles and Terry both hit the Rainbow Pick 6 at Gulfstream on Saturday for, I think it was like $300 or $400. So
nice.
So if you would have done both, and one was a hot dog and one was the prime rib, so the hot dog's under 20, the prime rib's under 100. So even if $120, and you would have made you'd have been over $700. So you would have made good money.
Well, I'm sure they were happy. I don't bet that big. I get excited when I play $5 and it hits, and I have like a superstition. I'll never bet on my husband, even if I know he's going to win. I just feel like I would block the blessing if I try to be greedy. So it's kind of people that are not my husband.
Kind of the same as trainers and owners too. If you win, that's money in your household. If you lose, it's not. So if you bet, you're kind of just risking more, right?
Right. And I always feel guilty. Oh, look, we have a comment here off topic, but Janet says she heard Nathan call the races at Turk Paradise on Saturday, and thanks to the show. So that's incredible. Yeah. We love him.
He did a great job, and I know there's a couple more dates he's filling in. And then also Craig announced today that Danny Jackson, who also was filling in last year, she'll be a part at the end of April and beginning of May as well, as she calls jump races and stuff. So,
I did see that right before I got on here. So that's cool. I love to see the youth doing super cool things. The sky is the limit, guys. Keep continuing to shatter ceilings. If you want something, go do it. You got 17-year-old boy just, living his best life. So
yeah, and a shout out to Craig too. Craig Praddock. He always is trying to help the next person. It's awesome. And he does that, fun stuff with the dogs too. Ricky Blind Dog and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm on socials Monday and Tuesday for TVG for FanDuel, and we're sharing that kind of stuff and stuff. It just little things like that just brings a little bit more fun to the game and just adds a little other dimension. So he does a great job with that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I believe that takes us wire to wire for the night. We'll be back tomorrow. And until then, we will see everyone in the
winner circle.